Let me start with something most people don't want to hear. Your life is not shaped by your intelligence, not by your talent, not even by your opportunities. Your life is shaped by what you obey. Most people obey their moods. And moods are terrible leaders, because moods change with the weather, with sleep, with hunger, with praise, with rejection, with a single bad thought at the wrong time. And yet, most people hand their future to something that's unstable. They wake up and ask a silent question every morning. Do I feel like it today? And depending on that feeling, they decide whether they move forward or stay exactly where they are. That is not freedom. That is emotional slavery. And here is the uncomfortable truth. If you follow your mood will eventually ruin you, because moods were never designed to lead. They were designed to respond. Plans lead. Principles lead. Commitments led. Moods follow. But we reversed the order. And that reversal is why so many people feel stuck, confused, undisciplined, inconsistent, and quietly disappointed in themselves. Not because they lack motivation, but because they lack governance. Discipline is governance. Faith is governance. A plan is governance. And when governance disappears, chaos always replaces it. Let me say this clearly, slowly, so it lands. Your mood is a report, not a command. It tells you how you feel. It does not tell you what to do. But most people let it command their actions anyway. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Here's the dangerous pattern nobody talks about. When you follow your mood, you train your nervous system to believe this lie. I only move forward when it feels good. And the moment things feel heavy, boring, difficult, lonely, uncertain, you stop. Not because you can't continue, but because you never trained yourself to continue without permission from your emotions. That's not a motivation problem. That's an identity problem. Because disciplined people don't ask, "How do I feel?" They ask, "What did I decide?" They don't wake up negotiating with their emotions. They wake up honoring a commitment they already made. And here's the paradox. The people who wait to feel motivated rarely feel motivated. The people who move without motivation eventually create it. Emotion follows action, not the other way around. And this is where faith comes in. Because faith is the ability to act before you feel ready, to move before you feel confident, to obey before you see the outcome. Faith is not emotional certainty. Faith is disciplined obedience in the absence of emotional confirmation. And that is why emotionally led people struggle with faith. Because faith requires you to move when your feelings are silent, or even resistant. Let me ground this deeper. Your mood is reactive. Your plan is proactive. Your mood responds to circumstances. Your plan shapes them. Your mood is short-term. Your plan is long-term. Your mood seeks comfort. Your plan seeks alignment. And comfort has never built a meaningful life. Every serious transformation in history, personal or spiritual, was carried by people who did not feel like continuing, but continued anyway. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, daily, consistently. That's discipline. Not intensity, not hype, not bursts of motivation. Discipline is the ability to keep a promise to yourself on a day when breaking it would be easier. And the reason this message matters so much right now is because we live in a culture that worships feelings. Listen to your heart. Do what feels right. Follow your passion. Protect your energy. And none of those phrases are evil. But without structure, without faith, without discipline, they become excuses disguised as wisdom. Because feelings are unreliable narrators. They exaggerate pain. They minimize long-term reward. They lie about what you're capable of. And if you let them drive, they will always choose the path of least resistance. Now listen carefully. Following your plan does not mean ignoring your emotions. It means not letting them vote. They can speak. They cannot decide. You acknowledge the mood, and then you execute the plan anyway. That is emotional maturity. That is self-respect. That is what separates people who build strong lives from people who keep starting over. Because every time you obey your mood instead of your plan, you weaken your internal authority. And every time you follow your plan despite your mood, you strengthen it. Authority is built through consistency, not over others, over yourself. Let me introduce the framework that will guide this entire message. There are 3 levels of human operation. Level 1, mood-driven living. You act based on how you feel. You start when inspired. You stop when it's uncomfortable. Your life is reactive, inconsistent, and emotionally exhausting. Level 2, motivation-driven living. You rely on external triggers, videos, speeches, music, praise. You move in bursts, then crash, then wait for the next spark. This level feels productive, but it's unstable. Level 3, principle-driven living. You act based on decisions already made. You follow structure. You honor commitments. You move whether you feel like it or not. This is where disciplined people live. This is where faith operates. This is where real results are built. The goal is not to kill emotion. The goal is to outgrow its control. Because the strongest people are not the most emotional. They are the most governed. Now here's something most people never realize. When you don't follow your plan, you don't just lose progress. You lose trust with yourself. And self-trust is everything. Every broken promise to yourself teaches your subconscious one thing. My word doesn't matter. And when your own word stops mattering to you, nothing else will either. That's why inconsistency creates quiet shame. Not loud shame. Subtle shame. The kind that makes you avoid mirrors. Avoid silence. Avoid commitment. Because deep down, you don't trust yourself to follow through. But the moment you start keeping small promises, even when you don't feel like it, something shifts. Your identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and start seeing yourself as someone who does. And identity is the real battlefield. Not motivation. Not tactics. Identity. Let me slow this down. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And systems don't care about your mood. They run because you decided they would. A plan is a system. A routine is a system. A standard is a system. And systems free you from emotional negotiation. Because when the decision is already made, there is nothing left to debate. You don't ask, should I show up today? You show up because that's who you are. That's discipline. That's faith in action. That's alignment. Now, before we go deeper, if this message is already pressing on something inside you, if you can feel resistance, recognition, or conviction, that's not an accident. That's awareness waking up. Stay with this. Don't scroll away. Don't numb it. This is not motivation. This is recalibration. Let's begin with a truth your brain doesn't want you to hear. Your mind is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of transformation. Your brain's primary job is survival, not greatness. It wants safety, familiarity, predictability. Growth threatens all 3. That's why every time you try to do something disciplined, wake up early, train consistently, pray consistently, study consistently, build something long-term, your mind immediately starts negotiating. Not yelling, not panicking, negotiating. Do it tomorrow. You deserve rest. You're tired today. Just this once. You'll start fresh next week. That voice is not weakness. It's biology. But disciplined people don't argue with that voice. They override it. Lesson 1. Comfort versus commitment. Comfort is instant. Commitment is delayed. Comfort gives relief now. Commitment gives reward later. And your brain always prefers now over later. That's why moods are so persuasive. A mood is your nervous system reacting to discomfort and saying, "Make this stop." Discipline says, "This discomfort has meaning." And that difference between escaping discomfort and assigning meaning to it is the line between stagnation and growth. Let me make this practical. When you don't feel like doing the work, your brain is not asking whether the work matters. It's asking whether the discomfort can be avoided. That's it. And if you obey that request, you teach your brain something dangerous. Discomfort equals stop. Over time, your tolerance for effort collapses. Small tasks feel heavy. Consistency feels exhausting. Discipline feels impossible. Not because you're weak, but because you trained yourself to retreat at the first signal of resistance. Discipline reverses that training. Every time you do the work without feeling like it, you rewire your brain to understand. Discomfort is not a threat, and the brain adapts. It always adapts. Here's something most people miss. Motivation is not required to act. Action is required to create motivation. The disciplined person understands this sequence. Action, identity, emotion. The undisciplined person lives in reverse. Emotion, action, identity. They wait to feel like someone who works hard. They wait to feel disciplined. They wait to feel ready. And they stay stuck. Because feelings follow behavior, not intentions. Let me say something blunt and freeing. You don't need to feel confident to act. You don't need to feel motivated to start. You don't need to feel inspired to obey your plan. You need to feel committed. And commitment is not emotional. Commitment is a decision you made before your mood showed up. Lesson 2. Why motivation fails and structure wins. Motivation is fragile. It depends on sleep, mood, environment, validation, energy, external input. Structure does not. Structure operates whether you feel good or bad, strong or weak, inspired or empty. That's why serious people build routines, not hype. They don't wake up asking, "How do I feel today?" They wake up asking, "What is required today?" And then they do it. Not aggressively, not emotionally, calmly, quietly, faithfully. Structure removes decision fatigue. When the decision is already made, your emotions don't get a vote. And this is where many people struggle spiritually. Because faith is not about feeling close to God. Faith is about obedience when you don't. Anyone can act righteously when it feels good. Anyone can be disciplined when they're inspired. Faith is acting correctly when your emotions are silent or resistant. Let me ground this in reality. There will be days you feel nothing. No passion. No excitement. No drive. If your system requires emotion to function, those days will break you. But if your system runs on structure, those days become irrelevant. You move anyway. And movement creates momentum. Momentum creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence, not the other way around. Here's a hard truth that builds strong people. Your future does not care about your mood. It responds to what you repeatedly do. Not occasionally. Not when it feels good. Repeatedly. That's why discipline looks boring from the outside. No drama. No speeches. No emotional swings. Just quiet consistency. And boring is powerful. Because boring compounds. Lesson 3. Faith, obedience, and moving without confirmation. Faith is not emotional certainty. Faith is obedience without confirmation. It's doing the right thing when there's no immediate reward. No reassurance. No visible progress. Faith says, I will act correctly even if nothing changes today. And that posture is rare. Because most people want evidence before obedience. They want proof before effort. They want results before commitment. But faith reverses the order. Obedience first. Results later. And discipline is how faith becomes visible. Let me speak directly to you for a moment. If you've been inconsistent, starting and stopping, making plans and abandoning them, that doesn't make you broken. It means you've been letting moods lead. And moods were never meant to carry that responsibility. They collapse under pressure. That's why your life feels unstable when you follow them. Stability comes from principle, from standards, from rules you follow even when you don't like them. Especially when you don't like them. Here's the identity shift that changes everything. You stop seeing discipline as punishment and start seeing it as self-respect. You don't follow your plan because you're forcing yourself. You follow your plan because you honor your word. To yourself, to God, to the future version of you who's counting on today. That's maturity. Now let me give you something practical, something you can use immediately. When your mood resists the plan, don't fight it. Acknowledge it. Say internally, I don't feel like this. And then say, but I'm doing it anyway. No drama. No emotional battle. Just execution. This trains your nervous system to separate feeling from action. Over time, resistance weakens. Not because it disappears, but because it stops controlling you. Before we continue, if this message is sharpening your thinking, grounding you, giving you language for what you felt but couldn't explain, stay with this series. Don't just listen. Apply. Most people think discipline is about forcing behavior. It's not. Discipline is about identity alignment. You don't consistently do what you want. You consistently do what you believe you are. And this is where most people lose. They try to change habits without changing identity. They say, I'm trying to wake up early. I'm trying to be consistent. I'm trying to stay disciplined. And trying fails, because trying still leaves room for negotiation. Disciplined people don't try. They decide. Lesson 4. Identity-based discipline. Let me say this slowly. The strongest form of discipline is not willpower. It is self-definition. When you define yourself clearly, behavior follows naturally. I'm the kind of person who keeps his word. I'm the kind of person who trains even when tired. I'm the kind of person who prays even when it feels dry. I'm the kind of person who finishes what he starts. Once that identity is set, your mood becomes irrelevant, because violating discipline would mean violating who you are. And people will endure discomfort long before they endure identity conflict. This is why shame is powerful, not because of punishment, but because it threatens identity. Disciplined people flip this. They attach pride to consistency. And discomfort becomes acceptable. Here's the shift most people never make. They ask, How do I motivate myself? Disciplined people ask, who am I becoming with this action? Every repetition votes for an identity. Every time you follow your plan when you don't feel like it, you cast a vote for the identity of a disciplined person. And identity compounds faster than results. Results lag. Identity leads. Now let's talk about something uncomfortable. Discipline is lonely. Not emotionally dramatic lonely. Quiet lonely. Because consistency separates you. When you follow your plan, you stop living in the same rhythm as everyone else. You go to bed when others scroll. You work when others rest. You stay focused when others seek distraction. And that creates distance. Not because you're better, but because you're aligned. And alignment costs social comfort. Lesson 5. Loneliness is not a problem, it's a signal. Loneliness is not always a sign of loss. Sometimes it's a sign of elevation. You don't hear this often because it doesn't feel good. But disciplined paths are narrow. Not many people walk them. And when you start walking differently, you stop being understood by people who don't. They'll say, "You've changed. You're too serious. You don't have fun anymore. You're obsessed." What they're really saying is, "You no longer move like me." And that makes them uncomfortable. So they try to pull you back. Not aggressively, subtly, with jokes, with invitations, with guilt. Discipline requires you to tolerate being misunderstood, without needing to explain yourself. That's maturity. Let me say something important. If you require social approval to stay disciplined, you will never stay disciplined. Because approval fluctuates. Alignment doesn't. And faith often demands separation. Not physically. Internally. You stop needing external validation to continue. You answer to your plan, to your principles, to God. And that's enough. Lesson 6. Pain is the price of alignment, not failure. Most people interpret pain as a sign they're doing something wrong. Disciplined people interpret pain as evidence of alignment. Because growth hurts. Real growth. Not motivational growth. Structural growth. Muscle tears before it rebuilds. Old identities resist replacement. Comfort systems fight extinction. Pain is not the enemy. Avoidance is. When you follow your mood, you avoid pain in the short term and pay for it in regret long term. When you follow your plan, you accept pain now to avoid regret later. That's wisdom. Let me speak directly to the moments you struggle most. The early mornings, the quiet evenings, the days when nothing seems to move. Those moments are not empty. They are formative. Nobody applauds them. Nobody sees them. And that's why they work. Because character is built in silence, not in performance. Here's another identity shift that frees you. You stop expecting discipline to feel good. You expect it to feel right. There's a difference. Right doesn't always feel good, but it creates peace. And peace is deeper than pleasure. Now pause for a moment. Think about the version of you that follows the plan regardless of mood. That version is calmer, more grounded, less reactive, less dramatic, more trustworthy. That version doesn't need constant reassurance. That version is dangerous, in the best way, because nothing external controls them. Not mood, not comfort, not approval. That's strength. Let me give you a phrase to carry with you. When the mood resists, say, "This is who I am." Not angrily, not forcefully, simply as a statement of identity. And then act. Over time, your nervous system accepts it. The negotiation stops. Before we move on, if you've stayed this far, you're not here by accident. This message only holds people who are ready to take responsibility. There is a moment that decides almost every life. It's not a big moment. It's not dramatic. It's the moment nothing happens. You've been disciplined. You've followed the plan. You've shown up consistently. And still, no applause. No visible reward. No clear progress. That moment breaks most people. Because they expected discipline to pay quickly. It doesn't. Lesson 7. Delayed reward is the real test. Discipline always pays, but rarely on your timeline. And your brain hates that. The brain wants feedback, proof, confirmation. When it doesn't get it, it starts doubting. Is this working? Am I wasting time? Should I change direction? And if you let those questions lead, you reset just before the breakthrough. Most people don't fail from lack of effort. They fail from leaving too early. They quit in the invisible phase. The phase where roots grow but nothing shows. Disciplined people understand this phase. They don't need visible reward to continue. They trust the process they committed to. That's faith. Let me say this clearly. If you need immediate results to stay disciplined, you are not disciplined. You are outcome dependent. And outcome dependence is emotional dependence. True discipline is process loyal. You don't show up because of what you're getting. You show up because of who you are. Lesson 8. Building internal authority. Most people live under external authority. They move when someone tells them to. Someone is watching. Someone is praising. Someone is pressuring. Take that away, and they stop. Internal authority is different. Internal authority means, I do this because I said I would. No audience. No pressure. No reward. Just self-governance. And self-governance is rare, because it requires you to become your own standard. No excuses. No emotional loopholes. You either followed the plan, or you didn't, and you hold yourself accountable calmly, not with shame, with honesty. Let me give you a powerful distinction. Self-criticism weakens discipline. Self-honesty strengthens it. Disciplined people don't insult themselves when they fail. They adjust. They observe. They correct. They recommit. Emotionally unstable people swing between hype and shame. Disciplined people stay steady. Here's how internal authority is built. You stop breaking small promises. That's it. Not big dramatic changes. Small ones. If you say you'll do something, you do it. Even when no one knows. Especially when no one knows. Every kept promise strengthens authority. Every broken promise weakens it. And authority compounds. Lesson 9. Calm consistency makes you dangerous. The most dangerous people are not loud. They're calm. They don't announce goals. They don't argue online. They don't explain themselves. They execute. Calm consistency confuses people because they can't read it emotionally. There's no performance, just results, eventually. And when results finally show, people call it luck. It's not. It's delayed discipline. Let me bring this home. When you follow your mood, you feel relief now. You feel regret later. When you follow your plan, you feel discomfort now. You feel peace later. Peace is the reward of alignment, not happiness. Peace. The quiet confidence that you did what you said you would do. That no mood controlled you. That's power. Right now, you're closer than you think. Not to success. To stability. And stability is the foundation of everything. Success built on mood collapses. Success built on discipline lasts. There comes a moment in every serious life when excuses stop working, not because they aren't convincing, but because they've been used too many times. You've explained yourself enough. You've promised yourself enough. You've restarted enough. At some point, you don't need another plan. You need a standard. Because plans change. Standards remain. And today is not about becoming intense. It's about becoming stable. Let me tell you what changes when you follow your plan instead of your mood. You stop waking up confused. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop feeling behind. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become solid. Your emotions still move. They just don't lead. Your moods still fluctuate. They just don't decide. You become governed. And a governed life is a powerful life. Here's the truth most people avoid. The version of you respect is the version that does the work, even when it doesn't feel meaningful, especially then, because meaning is often recognized after obedience, not before. The work doesn't always feel important when you're doing it. It feels important when you look back and realize you didn't quit. I want you to hear this clearly. Discipline is not about becoming hard. It's about becoming trustworthy. Trustworthy to yourself. Trustworthy to your future. Trustworthy in your faith. And when you become trustworthy, life responds differently to you. Opportunities stick. Momentum builds. Confidence becomes quiet, but real. You don't need to dominate your emotions. You need to outgrow their authority. There is a difference. You let them speak. Then you move anyway. That's maturity. That's strength. From this point forward, something changes. You stop asking, "How do I feel today?" And you start asking, "What did I commit to?" You stop waiting for clarity. You act, and clarity follows. You stop looking for motivation. You rely on discipline. Let this be the moment you decide. I am no longer mood-led. I am principle-led. I do not move when it's convenient. I move when it's required. I do not need to feel ready. I need to be obedient. I do not break promises to myself. I adjust, but I don't abandon. I follow my plan, not my mood. Some days will still feel heavy. Let them. Some days will feel empty. Let them. You don't quit because of a feeling. You don't stop because of discomfort. You continue because this is who you are now. And here's the part most people never reach. When you live like this long enough, peace replaces anxiety. Not because problems disappear, but because you trust yourself to handle them. That's freedom. Now this is not something you just listen to. This is something you declare. If this message is real to you, if you're done being controlled by moods, comfort, and excuses, write this in the comments. Not for me. For you. I follow my plan. Not my mood. Let that be your line in the sand. And then tomorrow, when the feeling fades, you keep going anyway. Because disciplined people don't wait for the feeling. They move. Always.